Welcome back to More Creating Your Life on Money and Wealth. This is episode 32. What is inflation really? Marc-Andre Alexander here. Last time we talked about how banking developed and how a goldsmith who would store gold for people and give them receipts would become a banker by beginning to loan out some of that gold to the community, government, to individuals, and everybody would improve. The loans would be paid back with interest, and the savers would get part of that. The banker would get part of that. Would keep a gold reserve so it wouldn't go down below a certain amount, so that all, whatever the need was for people to cash in their notes, it would work, because with 100,000 in gold, there were notes out there redeemable for 100,000 ounces. And the people, begin to trade those notes. Now, our honest banker dies and his son takes over. And let's say that the son begins to notice something. He's less than honest. He notices that everybody is trading these notes, and fewer people are actually getting the gold and going off with it. He has a lot of gold, and it's just sitting there. People are beginning to treat the paper notes like the notes were money. People are carrying around large amounts of it, and they're beginning to think of it that way. They've been doing it a long time. They've gotten used to it. They're beginning to think of it as money. And he gets an idea. He has the printing press. He has 100,000 ounces in gold. And he knows there's 100,000 paper notes out there, or at least notes worth that are redeemable for the gold coins. Okay? He has the printing press. Since they're treating it like money, what's to stop him from printing up a few extra notes and spending them? So 100,000 ounces in gold, 100,000 worth of notes out there. So he prints up, say 1,000 notes worth 1,000 gold coins. And he just takes the notes out and spends them. So now there's 100,000 in gold coins, but there's 101,000 in notes out there that are redeemable. And there's a difference. And nobody notices. He essentially created, quote, money out of thin air. And he spent it. And he does it again. He does another 1,000 a few months later, and then another 1,000. He could have been honest to begin with and thought, okay, I'll do 1,000 because I need it now, because one of my children is sick and I need to pay doctor bills right away, and then I'll pay it back. But then it gets easier and easier to nobody noticed, and it doesn't seem to be changing anything. Why not? I do more and more. I work really hard. You know how I think everybody watching this probably at some point in their lives has rationalized things in such a way that they find themselves doing things they wouldn't ordinarily do because they think it's expedient, it's necessary in the moment. With this printing press, eventually there's a big difference. 100,000 ounces of gold versus 110,000 in redeemable notes. What happens? There's more notes in circulation, which means more goods and services are being bought as he spins it into circulation. The extra notes in relation to what's stored causes prices to mysteriously rise. If more money is being spent, more stuff is being purchased. If more people want my goods and there are a few goods on the shelves, I'll raise prices to compensate. There's a demand for certain things. I'm going to raise the prices. If my services are in demand, hey, I don't have enough to go around, I'm obviously more valuable, I raise the cost of my services. That's how spending these extra notes causes prices to rise. Good news is businesses get blamed. If people don't understand what's going on, we blame it on the businesses. We're not aware that the printing press is in operation. In fact, our banker could get in league with some politicians and say, hey, I want to finance your campaign, and why don't we work together? We'll print up more, quote, money, and in the process, we'll finance your campaign. We'll have more parties. Hey, it's such a fun thing, and nobody seems to catch on. So the printing press means printing money out of thin air, but of course, we know there's no such thing as a free lunch. We know that you really can't just create money out of thin air. If you think about it, I mean, if they could, why wouldn't the government just print up $1 million for every man, woman, and child and make everybody rich? They can't, because it would destroy the economy. Why? Because if you would create a hyperinflation, prices would go out of sight. Historically, this has happened over and over again in different countries, but we're not taught that history often, so we don't realize what government can get away with. So economic inflation has been defined differently over the years, and I pulled some dictionaries. I was in a used bookstore once, grabbed some old dictionaries. So here's the 1959 Webster's definition of economic inflation: an increase in the currency in circulation or a marked expansion of credit resulting in a fall in currency value and a sharp rise in prices. This is a good definition. This is describing exactly what happens. Notice I put in bold resulting in. Increasing the currency in circulation results in falling value, rise in prices. So inflation causes prices to rise. That's the cause and effect. As late as 1970, American Heritage Dictionary had a similar definition: an abnormal increase in the available currency and credit resulting in a rise in price levels. So inflation causes prices to rise. That's the proper definition. Now, after 1970, something happened. We went off the gold standard. A lot of countries had, a lot more did after we did. So if you look at some later dictionaries, let's go back to Webster's. In 1996, this is what they say: a persistent, substantial rise in the general level of prices related to an increase in the volume of money and resulting in the loss of value of currency. So now they're obscuring the cause and effect relationship. They're essentially saying inflation is a persistent, substantial rise in general level of prices. And if you go today to dictionary.com, which is based on Webster's, they have the exact same definition. So I went to a different website, actually the Merriam-Webster.com website. You'd think it would say the same thing. It actually goes even further. It just says a continual increase in the price of goods and services. It's just telling you it's rising prices. It has eliminated the cause. Even freedictionary.com right now has the same thing. Very short, the rate of increase of prices. So what's happened? The definition has changed. In earlier days, there was clear cause and effect. Inflation causes prices to rise. Now we just say, inflation is rising prices. The cause has been removed. We don't have a sense of what causes prices to rise. And it makes it easy for government now to print up money, print up extra money out of thin air, spend it on wars, on helping people. In the process, we can blame businesses if they start raising the prices due to the inflation of the currency supply. Isn't this very interesting? The American founders understood this. John Adams wrote a letter to Thomas Jefferson. He wrote, "All the perplexities, confusion, and distress in America arise not from defects in their Constitution or Confederation, not from want of honor and virtue, so much as downright ignorance of the nature of coin, credit, and circulation." In other words, inflation is not rising prices. Inflation causes prices to rise. The founders understood that because they directly experienced what happens when paper money loses its value and how it can destroy an economy. Next, we're going to have a history of U.S. money. This is even more revealing, and we hope that it doesn't freak you out too much. In the meantime, go to marcandrealexander.com.